Welcome and a wonderful good morning and good afternoon. And let me switch on my camera just to say hi to you, everyone. So, hello from Germany. So, from the nice head office in southern Germany, I welcome everyone who joined us this afternoon, this Central European afternoon. And for those who listening to the recording, also thanks a lot for dialing in and for watching this. So I have prepared together with my colleague a really good set of slides and live demo environments. It's the latest and greatest of SCOM and my, so managed instance, and that's basically our general available webinar. So we know it's been GA already, end of November, but well, we said before the end of December time, we'll spare that for the New Year's time. So that's the time now, and with me is my colleague Ram, and Ram is our senior customer success lead. He's in North America. So Ram, welcome to the call as well.
Hi, Christian. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar.
Wonderful. So let's get started. This is the menu for today. So we'll talk about first SQL managed instance and what's new there. Then we actually go right into the SCOM managed instance and talk about what's new there and what GA actually means. We'll obviously talk then about the nice management packs running on the managed instance. And we'll then obviously we know there are a couple of webinars around on SCOM managed instance. So we always try to set a specific focus here, and our will be today on Linux, which is just out there, and Grafana actually. So we'll show something around that and a couple of topics left and right, also like troubleshooting tips. So in case you want to give this a try. So okay, good. So let's get started. And first, I want to share what's new with the SQL managed instance, and yeah, everybody's who reviewed the slides that say, well, wait, why do you write November 2022 wave? So, but well, that's how Microsoft declared the waves, and that wave actually rolled out in November 2023 to the SQL managed instance. And why do I present this? Because on these 5 bullets you see on here, there's a one specific bullet really which is important, and this is the bullet here right in the middle. It's the start and stop. And why is that so important? For every one of you who actually started and deployed this, they know, whoa, this can get costly even for a test and test environment. So, and with that, actually, it brings down your cost, because obviously you might not run the test all the time, so maybe only during daylight or so, and then you can actually start and stop your SQL managed instance, which is the major point of cost here. So, and it's been always said, and Microsoft is aware of that, and they try to do things like that. And there are a couple of hints I also share. So, but that's really what you want to look for. So when your SQL managed instance isn't on the November 2022 waves, just upgrade it. So that really gives that new feature, which is very helpful here. So that basically quick overview for recap for those who are new to SQL SCOM managed instance deployment. So it really consists of two parts in a number of different ways. So first parts, you have really a hybrid scenario here. So you have like everything that's on the Azure side, which is here on the right side, the management servers, the SQL managed instance, your networks, and your managed identities and those types of things. On this side here, you have your domain controller, you have your systems, and everything basically what you have on-prem, including now also SCOM gateway service if you want to deploy them. So that's basically these two areas. But there's another layer of basically two type of things. So there's on the one side things Microsoft manages, and something that you as a customer manage. And that's been always until GA really in the discussions, like what part is managed by Microsoft and what part is managed by the customer. It's still blurry, I think. So although if you go to Microsoft Learn pages, there make some differentiation, but in essence, Microsoft only managed the SQL managed instance. Well, they try to put also this in a context that the management servers are managed, but in the end, it's your responsibility to patch them. although Microsoft basically gives the option with a click of a button basically to manage or to upgrade the management servers. So, but in the end, the whole environment that is in your subscription is customer managed. So that needs to be known actually. So otherwise, yeah. Okay, what's new? What updates we have? So there are new region added. So you find this like in the UK, in Asia, in additional region in Asia, which has been added. And there is in SCOM, in the on-prem version of SCOM 2022, which I suppose all of you are running. So if you have the URL1, I think there's a cost-saving estimation tool. Maybe if you have time later, I can demo it, but it's basically if you open the monitoring pane at the very top folder, you actually get on the right side like a little screen where you can actually click and open an estimation tool. It will basically analyze your existing SCOM environment, but basically what it does, it's just counting your Windows and your Windows managed nodes basically, and then puts them in a CSV file, and the CSV file can be uploaded to the Azure cost estimation tool, and then basically gives you an estimation of the cost running this on Azure. So, but yeah, we'll get to the cost a bit later, and we can circle back on that. I'll get a few preview features in here. So there's an advanced dashboarding with the Azure workbooks. I'll show that, and I'll also show the Azure managed Grafana. So I've got that to work, so I'll show that. And then there are the preview things like if you have Azure VMs, you can actually use VM extensions. That's actually available already many years, but now you can actually basically deploy the health service or the health agent, the Microsoft monitoring agent, through a VM extension and manage it through that. So that's also on there. And then, yeah, you have the SCOM gateway servers on ARC-enabled machines where you can actually monitor the SCOM gateways as well. Obviously, you can still have SCOM gateways that are not ARC-enabled and be part of the things. So now I want to just give a bit of open a bit for the discussion. So it's also really up to you. So to join in that, so I just would ask you to stay on mute because we are recording this webinar here. So and I would just ask you to use the chat or the Q&A area to comment on those, because I'll actually, well, my colleague Ram, who's joined me today, is really on the first line working with many of our nice customers, like hundreds of customers basically, working on SCOM, and he has a really good perspective on what customers value from the operation, the traditional operations manager. And these tables, they're free slides with tables, and Microsoft basically puts the operations manager on-prem in comparison to SCOM managed instance. We just like want to have some open conversation about that. So, and feel free to chime in. So, so let's start with the first point here. Like, everybody think about patching your environment, right? So what does it mean? And I actually had a client that's running on SCOM 2012 R2, still working fine, right? So Ram, let me just ask the first question basically here. What do you think about patching operations manager every 15 to 20 days?
I mean, I'm a little bit ambivalent on it. It depends on what Microsoft actually does, because end of the day, as a end user, I mean, for us, we need to make sure that SCOM is running and available and monitoring the environment fully all the time. So that as long as patching doesn't interfere, then sure, that is fine. And other piece also I'm a little ambivalent about it is I need a little bit more control, because there could be environments where patching sometimes drops things, like because they obsolete stuff and things like that. So I may still want to have, and like you just mentioned, the SCOM 2012 R2 is being used to manage a really old Linux system or an AX system. Now, if I patch it and it suddenly stops working because Microsoft ended the support for it, then it's a problem. So I need a little bit more control. So, but it also gives me the freedom, like, hey, so, and that's why I said I'm ambivalent. I'm not sure.
Well, that's right. So it's like when I read this about, it's like, well, our customers typically are like in the mature environments, which need to be stable to run, and every customer typically has a phased approach. They have a test environment, a staging environment, a production environment. So the patch goes for different stages. So, and obviously that's work to be done, right? That's why when Microsoft writes here, spend days to update a system center environment, that will not entirely go away, I think, because they would just have a staging managed instance and have a production managed instance. So they wouldn't do that at the same time. But if the staging takes 15 days, and then already the next wave is available, then it becomes obviously a challenge, I think, because the windows will overlap at one point. So, and I haven't seen that you're able to choose at what patch level you're going to move, because when I use that feature in the SCOM managed instance, you can always go to the latest. You can pick what next level you want to go to. So that might come, but at this point, this is a challenge here. Right, let's talk about agent management. So all of you obviously using agents out there. So well, we have clients which have up to, I think, 25,000 agents in there, and they are not manually managing those, of course. Yeah, they have automatic features as well in there. So this is a bit short thought, I think, because there are like if you're using the SCCM, the Endpoint Configuration Manager from Microsoft, you can also roll out the agents. For Linux, there's also options to roll out. I'm not really sure if on the managed instance, well, the VM extensions also need some manual clicks to do that. So any thoughts on that, Ram?
No, just like, I mean, it again depends on the environment, right? Like if certain administrators, like for example, sometimes I've run into customers where like especially the non-Windows platform administrators who want to have a bit more control, or even running applications like Oracle, they want to control what agent is or what software gets installed. So they always prefer to do it manually. So it again depends on your environment. So this, I'm sure it's more, I mean, not much value, especially for large old users of our SCOM. Like they have a very good system already in place, and they have scripts that do it for them in their own controlled way.
That's correct. So, and if any one of you is on the call and likes to have automatic deployment, let us know. We have done this for a couple of customers, like especially for Linux and cross-platform agent, but also for Windows, like automatic roll-up and roll-out and onboarding of agents, like for example in dynamic environments where we spawn a lot of new virtual machines, for example, how they automatically get added to SCOM, that can all be automated. So well, that's then fully customer controlled. And similar to the next point here, the high availability and fault tolerance piece. So I think it is we have customer environment that run without interruptions over 10 years. So that's it's not a problem with the concept of the resource pools and the multiple management service. There's full HA. Sure, it is customer responsibility, but I don't really seeing that going this away. In the default deployment, the SCOM managed instance has one SCOM management server, and if that's going to be patched, it's going to be restarted. So you want to actually also look at that from SCOM managed instance. Microsoft does not look at that. If you'd automate the first deployment of the SCOM managed instance does not have high availability here. All right, so and then the optimization and scaling, yeah, that's interesting. So we'll show a little on that when we look at the demo environment. So we get to that in a moment. Going to the next slide, just have a look on the workload monitoring here. So in basically the management packs are all supported both sides. So there's not really there's no difference. So that's fully supported, and also all the management packs we develop at NICE being fully supported and working there. So there's no exception. Yeah, so obviously you have additional workloads on Azure you can integrate with, which is correct. So, but you do have the Azure Management Pack here as well. So in the end, I don't also see a real different except the Arc piece. So if somebody's using Azure Arc in correlation with Operations Manager, please let us know so we can add to that. But it's something new which I don't envision yet at this point. Also the last point here, the log collection analysis. Yeah, there is the SQL managed instance obviously has a lot of details in there and that can be analyzed, but yeah, why do I want to do that at this point? So I don't have really a use case yet for this. So Ram, have you seen the request where this might be required to actually get data from log analytics workspace?
No, not yet. We haven't seen any. I mean, I haven't seen any right now. But I mean, it is something that's, I'm sure it's something that's what Microsoft envisions how people are going to go out to.
Great. So yeah, alerting, there is the integration alert to Azure Monitor. We'll look at this as well. So on the other hand, there is an option to integrate this from the on-prem system as well. But as you know, in Azure Monitor, you have to, once you enable that, you have to pay per alert. So while if you leave it in SCOM, it's not required anymore. But yeah, that's definitely a difference. If what the advantages, everybody basically has to themselves to decide. Then reporting, yeah, there is the old-fashioned, can call it reporting in SCOM. So and interesting is that they put the workbooks and Grafana here into the reporting area. I don't really see that as a report, to be honest. So because it's quite difficult to get the historic data, we look later at the Grafana dashboards, and we'll also notice that this is more like real-time information we have on there. So, and then the app-specific report, I have to laugh a little bit about this because yes, if you do have Squared Up, which is really powerful, you manually have to integrate it, but it is so much more in there than what you have in the Azure Managed Grafana that it actually is, yeah, it's all the way worth the extra effort to do that. And again, Squared Up does not, it provides historic data, but not what I consider as a report. Okay, anything to add from your side before we go to the cost analysis of the whole thing, Ram, or anybody else?
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to hear what customers have. Like, I mean, if any of you have any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to put it in the chat because you're sharing your experiences and your concerns as well. So,
all right. So, like it's been just disclosed how much the cost of the SCOM managed instance is. So we put this out here. So there are two components basically. So one is the first one, which is basically the endpoint monitor with SCOM MI, which is $6 per endpoint per month, which basically is a valid price point, I'd say. So I know like the pricing from the past because for those who have a System Center license, there know you have like the System Center suite per operating system environment, OSE, and the number of cores below that licensed, which is significant. So it's like a higher price point on that. And here you basically have like a really a clear and transparent pricing. So like if you have like 100 servers, you sets you back like $600 per month, which is quite attractive, I'd say. So if you have thousands, also still fine. I'm not sure how it scales up. Like if we take one of our large customers with 20,000 plus, it really gets like very high. You end up like over $1 million per year. So I think there's probably some scaling effects on that. I would assume that it then goes into that area. And obviously you still have the Azure consumption cost. So the Azure consumption cost is, in our example here, the major part is per day here on the right side. Per month, it sums up to like in euro. This is our West Europe tenant where we have that in there, and this is the cost per month, which is basically fixed for the Azure's components, the services you have deployed in your resource group. That's what the cost of those are. So you can quite good estimate actually how much the cost will be. And I think there's a good range of number of customers where this is attractive. So I've spoken to some of them. So you have a full supported enterprise monitoring system with a lot of free management packs, and they're very valuable add-ons out there. So I think this is really going to open a new market here. All right, so we'll quickly go back a step and then now going how you want to take the step and set it up and deploy it. It's quite good to know a bit of history. We have been involved into this project Aquila since 4 years now. So, and still in close contact with Microsoft. So if you have any comments, I'll also feed them back to the product team at Microsoft. So, and we had been part of the private previews that are there, public preview like 2 years ago, and now, or last year, now we have GA, and we'll assisting also clients to deploy this into their production environment. When you go this journey, there are a couple of concepts that are important to understand. Like one is the group managed service accounts that are important to understand how this is used, and then a couple of things in the Azure area, like the site-to-site VPN that's need to set up if you don't use ExpressRoute, and obviously you have the on-prem technology and the Azure technology. So, and again, it's important that you need an on-prem environment. I just want to emphasize this again, because some think, well, this is SCOM managed instance in the cloud. Well, why do I need an on-prem part? That is a requirement. So you need to have your DNS and AD on-prem at least for this to work. I just give you like an example how our environment is set up. The demo environment will just look in a moment here. So we have on the left side the on-prem components here. So we have a AD domain controller and DNS. So we have Windows, a couple of Windows servers on there, a Linux system, SUSE Linux system is running on there, and we have a VPN into the Azure subscription. And in the subscription we have a couple of network with network and subnets, plus the NAT gateway, which is really key. I really recommend to set this up because it's also required if you want to integrate with any Azure resource that are outside, like Grafana. Then you need the public endpoint from the SQL managed instance as well to be available here. When you start preparation, there's typically a domain account you set up, and basically you follow the steps. There are like 13, 14 steps outlined, and if you follow them really exactly, you have success. There's a good example that you should deploy like a test VM to test everything before you actually go into the creation step of the SCOM managed instance, and that really will help to verify that all your functionality is there, your name resolutions are correct, your managed identity is correct, your key vault is correctly set up, and also like in the SQL managed instance has the correct privileges to access the network, and later that it can be accessed from the management servers. So this again, further steps we'll share later, obviously the slides. The first step is kind of important, and we forgot it in the beginning because we created a new resource group, and so we had to register a resource provider there. So that's important. Otherwise, but it will fail. But now the pre-check which is in there will actually verify that. And well, this is not exactly true anymore, that it takes up to 6 hours. There's been also with the November update, there's an option to do that faster. And actually the SQL managed instance that I created beginning of the week, this week, it took just like below an hour to actually be provisioned. So that goes quite fast now. And yeah, there's a role assignment, you follow it and really click save, that everything is safe before you continue. And then you create your key vault with your access policy and secrets. And then it's ready basically to create your SCOM managed instance. And as mentioned just a moment ago, I created new SCOM managed instance, and obviously also did not work on the first attempt. Even I did all the prerequisites, but this is the verification wizard, and it just kept giving me here some group policy validations that failed. So, and it basically just says, and I will says here, please verify the complete account names and check if any group policy is affecting the organizational unit of your SCOM management service. So it deploys a test system here as well, and then check if everything can be accessed. And everything was correct, and I was like just wondering what was going on. And the MSA account is here, and this is the computer group name, and everything was like in the example, and also the test VM I deployed was working correctly. So, and in the end, yeah, I just give additional information. This is the key vault. You provide a key vault, and in the key vault you put the secret. This is the user you create, and because I just did the screenshot also to provide to Microsoft, because there is an issue currently, and for me it actually resolved then in the case that I use the FQDN in every place except here. So if you use the GMSA account, for me it had to work once I put the domain name here without FQDN, without the dot nice lab, which we have there, .de, basically that worked, but that was the change. But it had nothing to do with group policies. It was just that piece where it changed. So so and it's been on there that there was a problem with name resolutions of the group managed service account in the past. It still seemed to be there. So just pay attention if that you run into this area. You want to make sure that this is eventually corrected. And then the validation is in progress, and you also see here I used like the non-FQDN, while in other places you have the FQDN here, and also behind the key vault, the username here behind that is using then FQDN, except also in this place we don't use it. All right, so with that, I think we'll have a short demo now. Also, look how the whole thing looks like. And let me just switch over now to the demo system. So, where is my demo system right now? There we go. There we are. So this is, we'll quickly start with SQL managed instance. So I just wanted to show you that here at the top, we see November 2022 feature wave is ready for to use for this instance. So it's been deployed here. The features, this wave is active. So we have this option here with the start and stop schedule, which has been added. So that's very helpful. You can change that. What I also did change is the compute and storage in this area. So you see the cost here that occurs, and I actually changed that to just 4 cores of view. Default is 8 cores, and I also decrease the storage because I have this as a test instance. I don't need 500 GB of storage in my instance at this point, so I could reduce that. If I reduce it further down to 64, eventually it gets quite quickly full, so I left it with that. So, but that basically is the setting I can recommend. It works well. So for me here in this test deployment, and I think there's still a lot of space for doing more. So let's go over now to the SCOM managed instance. So yeah, we have one which is been created here. So this is basically the overview. So we have the infrastructure here. So when we have the infrastructure, it is important that you need to know that there's a scale set, and within the scale set we have the management service in there. So we have a number of management servers. This is one. So in a default deployment, we have like one system which has no high availability. If that one server in the scale set is stopped, then we lose all our monitoring functionality. So if here in the scale set we go to instances, we have the instance, we go to the instance which is running, and now we can connect to that. We see it's sometimes quite busy, so we can actually go on here. So we have this as an IP address. This is the private IP address 5.7. I opened the RDP session already, so which is this one here. So you see the operations manager event log here, with a lot of entries already. So, and yeah, and the typical SCOM services like the monitoring agents running on this one here. So you can actually log into this to the system and the SCOM management server and do troubleshooting there and do changes. Like for example, if you do want to reconfigure the registry, you can do that. However, you should be careful that this is, well, it can come and go, the management server, depending if you go to the SQL managed, to the SCOM managed instance and go, for example, to scaling. We actually see here that we can do a scaling, and let's say if you have say 3,000, it recommended servers are on here, so we can actually go and save now and would like bring up 2 additional management servers. Here we have the recommendation of a DS3v2 system, but actually I also wanted to save some on cost on that. So if we go back now to the actual scale set, which we have here, and back here to the scale set, and if you look at the virtual machine scale set, and there should be the configuration. Nope, just a moment. Instances. No, there's a place you can change actually the systems you're using, and I changed that to a DS2 system. And so just as I said, just to use a smaller system actually. Just go back, scale set. See scale set. Properties, size it is. So here we see actually we have the current site is a DS2 system, while the default system is the DS3, this one here, which is more expensive obviously than the current one I use. So if you want to do a test deployment, you can actually also use this one here. So which works well as well. You might run high on CPU eventually, but in the end that works as well quite good. So we have like the managed instance, and now we have a couple of new features here I quickly want to show. So we have, for example, the workbooks. The workbooks basically connect to the SQL managed instance and take information out of that. So we have alert by severity, and this information comes out of the OpsDB. So so you could go basically in here and develop your own workbooks or edit them and get information out of those. We see a couple of alerts on here, so we'll talk about them in a moment when we look to the actual system. So yeah, that is the overview here. If there are any questions, again, please use the chat. Feel free to ask. So, and then I'll take them as we go along. So now let's connect to the SCOM managed instance. So, and actually when we connect, we can just go to the SCOM managed instance here into the overview, and under properties, we see here the load balancer name. So we can actually take this DNS of the load balancer, open a console and connect to it. So here at the top, we see the management group SCOM MI0124. So we could also connect to this is a local, like a management server from on-prem. We could also open that. So and you see basically there's no difference. Once you connect it with your console, you can't tell the difference between an on-prem environment and an online one. So that's on here. So here we have the SCOM managed instance overview, and yeah, here we have the alerts, and then we have a number of management packs. So I'll talk a bit later about Unix and Linux, but before that, I actually want to go and ask Ram to give a quick overview. So if you can do about the nice management packs which we have deployed here. So Ram, are you ready for this?
Yep, but can you control the mouse, or should I take control, or like how do you?
I'll actually give me a moment. I'll pass over the presenter role to you, so should be able to share your screen.
All right. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen.
Perfect, it's coming up. So great. So see the same
Great.
instance here. Yep, please go ahead. Thanks.
The same instance, and basically like Christian showed before, the console will look exactly like how when for an operator point of view, it's exactly like how it was when it's on premise or in the SCOM instance. And when you install our solution right now, you can see we have already installed some of our products there. Like we have a nice active 365 management pack, which is used to monitor the Microsoft 365 services. And I just want to give you a brief demo, like what's available on premise is exactly when you have an on-premise SCOM deployment, it's exactly the same features are available because it's the same management pack that just imported, and you can actually monitor your tenant just like how you would monitor your Microsoft 365 tenant if you had an on-premise management pack. And the logic is the same whether you're using the SCOM MI for any of the other management packs from either from Microsoft or from us or from any other vendor, or your own custom management pack. So typically you can see we can actually monitor, like for example, Microsoft 365 is also a SaaS solution, right? That's a pure SaaS solution. So as an administrator, you are responsible only for deploying, specifying what users are there and what permissions are there granted for the users and what resources that they have access to. So you just want to, our software, our management pack allows you to monitor those pieces. Like, and if you want to use that, like you can monitor, for example, Exchange, how your Exchange is working, and you can actually see how much time does it take for somebody to log into your mailbox, to their mailbox, and basically these are running synthetic transactions. And these synthetic transactions are triggered, the workload is actually triggered on your SCOM MI and handed over to the Azure resources, which are actually running in the Microsoft backbone, and then they send the data back to you. So it's purely working on the Azure side, so everything is managed again on the Azure side. And like for example, here you can see how much time is it taking, like some typically like what a Microsoft 365 admin would want. That's what basically we are providing in our management pack, and the same feature is now available when you have in SCOM MI as well. Like same with like if you have Teams call, like if you are using Teams and if you have calls, then you can actually see how many calls are there per day. And need to refresh it, I guess. Okay, that's why. Okay. You can see actually it starts showing like how many calls per day, because this is collected per day, right? And the performance view was set up for like only showing 1 day data, so that's why it was not showing even though it was there. And same goes here, as I guess. And you can see the round trip time, like how much time does it take to make a calls, and like how much time does it take for the Teams call to have a round trip operations and things like that. And so it basically allows you to monitor an Azure resource using our management pack or any other management pack that you have to with SCOM MI and show you on this dashboard. Anything else you want to see?
Well, I'm perfect. Just a quick overview, just in a matter of time, because we have some other topics. So
Sure.
I'll just thank
Take
you,
over
Ram. So, and I'll just gonna continue here, or just continue to talk a bit about this kind of more special topic, like because Microsoft or other webinars around this topic really focus on the Windows side of things, but we know there are a lot of Linux VMs running on-prem as well on Azure. So actually more Linux VMs are running on Azure than Windows VMs. So it is a really important use case here. So, and if you wonder like how do I get Linux also added to the SCOM managed instance, it's not really the extra tricks you need to know, but as we know, Linux sometimes is a bit of a challenge to onboard. So I just want to lay out and give some hints here at this point in time. So important is that when you in the Azure portal, and you can download from there the console package. The console package, it's called console package, but it actually contains like the full installation package of SCOM. And once you deploy that or you can install it, then you actually have like a folder on your disk, and in this folder basically you have a management pack, and there you find basically the Linux management packs on that. So and then you can configure this, and I probably also will show you this live right now, so because you can understand then what I'm a bit more practical here. So I first basically you go into your SCOM managed instance, and here under get started you actually download here. This is download install operations console here, and if you do this download, then it basically downloads here from here the whole package, and you bring it to your system, and then you install it, and it default installs it here on C SCOM managed instance 2022. So that's basically your folder, and in here you find the management packs, and in here you find the Linux management packs. So you pick those. Typically you only need to have the universal ones, because these are for older versions, like RHEL 7 is old, SLES 12 is old, so you don't need to have those, but primarily the universal Linux management packs, and you basically import them into SCOM, into your SCOM MI deployment, and once you bring them in here, you will actually have them on here. So we have the Linux RPMs in here, and they are completely discovered or part of this. And then you go basically and set up your users under Unix Linux accounts. We typically recommend to have like 2 users, like the root user is not really needed. It's a super user for the maintenance, but you can also use another sudo as account. But we have 2 users, which is basically the same user once used with elevation. So if we look at this here, we can go to credential details. So this one does not use elevation, and this is the ops user. And then we have the user that does use the elevation, which is the same user, important, the same user, but it uses elevation. So, and then you map those out to the 2 profiles, which are out there. So the action account and the privileged account. So the action account obviously gets the regular one, the ops user without elevation, and the privileged account gets the account assigned that has the elevation on there. So, and basically that's it. So and then you can actually use the deployment wizard and just go to Unix management packs, go in here, and our system is BWA88, right? You could use your credentials. You could also plug in your root credentials or any credentials that have elevation. So in case this has no privileged access, you click here, and then you see it's a bit tricky, because you see there's no selection here, but as soon as you change the drop down at the top here, it shows elevation, and then you can choose what type of elevation you have up here. But I have an account with privileged access, so I can do this and save, and I use default pool, go on there, but it will show that it's already managed in this case. So because I added that already before, but in the end, it will now go to the Linux system, probe what system it is, get some details back. And with that, it actually does some basically checks to if it can deploy the agent. Most problems that we have seen is either with users or network, means like firewalls that have problems in place, or like give problems. So on that, so we leave this for a moment, as it's taken a moment to actually run here. We can actually look also at the Linux system here, what is happening on that one. This is this one here. So this is the slash system basically, and you run like a process list here. We see that the standard Linux agent is actually running on this one here. So let me go back and see if we have this now back here. obviously says already managed, which is completely true. So we can actually go back and see it should be already here. We managed that already. So going back here and looking at the Linux computer. So we have it here. And we can actually now look at a diagram view, for example, what has been discovered here. And we should see that the operating system, it's a SUSE operating system which has been discovered, and it's currently in discovering of the mount points, and we'll then start monitoring those. So the monitoring of the Linux system is then fully supported by this. And then, well, I'm not going to go into detail. So there's the Linux Oracle management pack, because on this Linux system, an Oracle is running on there. So we can start now monitoring this Oracle database, basically, which is running them with the nice Oracle management pack as well. All right, so we'll took that little tour. I'm just going to the next one. So, but it's pretty standard. Well, we want to have a look at this new preview feature, Grafana, which is on there. So we know Grafana is really nice dashboard tool, and for that we're using the Azure Managed Grafana. So the Azure Managed Grafana is an Azure service which is available, and there are a couple of steps you have to run through. And the documentation is quite straightforward, so you can actually go on the SCOM managed instance and use that, and then yeah, basically run through that and assign a permission. So I will also show you that quickly into the demo what is needed for that. So first, obviously, we need to go to the Grafana, the Azure Managed Grafana service. So you basically create a new Grafana service. I've did that already. There are two plans. There is Essential and Standard. Interesting enough, Essential did not work for me because I couldn't assign the managed identity to that to do the authorization with the SQL managed instance to get that basically connected. So yeah, basically once that is deployed and configured, we can go to the public endpoint, which is here, and open the public endpoint. We already logged in, so and then we can deploy from here basically, or first we connect the data. So, and in this case, we connect to the Microsoft SQL server and provide like here the connection details. And yeah, when we create this, we'll can add the SQL managed instance basically to this. I just did this already, so we have this already connected. This one here, you see, this is the SQL managed instance endpoint. This is the public endpoint, and important for this is maybe a hint which I was stumbling upon because it did not work for me in the first point, is the security of the SQL managed instance, because the SQL managed instance has the public endpoint, which is the public SQL managed instance, and here under the managed instance virtual network, the public endpoint. Here, this is the public endpoint, and that needs to be in a security group where we have the possibility basically to do that, to allow to access this from Grafana. So if we go in here and we look for the subnetworks, and we on the SQL managed instance subnet, we have the security group, and if you go to the security group, we have to basically add this rule here to allow basically inbound to this connection. I did that for any, now you can basically connect to that. So and then we have added this basically to the Azure managed, to the Grafana managed Grafana basically. And well, and then we add the dashboard. There's a predefined dashboard, so which you can deploy, and this is also quite well explained. And let's go to the dashboards. So dashboards here. Where did I add it? We have to go here. There it is. So now, actually, why is it not showing? Because you actually have to use in a drop down, and here you have all the databases which are in the SQL managed instance. So, and obviously you have to select the database here, and now you get all the data from the from your OpsDB, basically from your operations manager database. So, and this is just a default dashboard which is available. So it just gives you like, yeah, some status data, the number of alerts here, and it gives you a number of servers, the alert resolution time, and those types of things in here. So that's basically the overview. You could now start and change that, yeah, and play around with that. But that's just the out-of-the-box deployment, which works good. And it's comparable to Power BI, and it compares also to the workbooks. So you have various ways to deploy that. I haven't tried actually to put time series data in there, like performance graphs. So I'm not sure if that's possible. Could give it a try as well. All right, so that's basically the update on the Grafana integration. So, and want to leave some time for Q&A as well here. And Ram, is there anything you want to add? What do you think about this Grafana integration?
Yeah, I mean it's nice and simple, and I mean as long as you set up configuration, initial configuration, the security is taken care of, especially that port. I mean the IDs like, but I mean I still think like it still needs product improvement, I guess, because that's why it's probably in preview. It's not, and compared to like say if somebody who's using on-premise SCOM with Squared Up dashboard or any their own custom dashboard or even Power BI, they'll have much more feature rich. So that's probably coming in future from Microsoft, but right now it's still not there. But it's a good first step. It makes
Yeah.
life easier though.
Okay, yeah, sure. I put a screenshot down here on the left side where you wonder why do I show this PowerShell script. This is in the third step here. If you configure your data sources for the Azure Managed Grafana, you download basically a PowerShell script. You run, I ran this actually on the Azure CLI, basically this PowerShell script, and it actually connects the managed identity with your, and gives permission to your SQL managed instance to allow that Grafana can access it. All right, I think with that, we're coming pretty much to the end here. Yeah, so just let me see. Yeah, so we have some time for Q&A, and if you have some
Christian, one
questions,
question.
yes,
Christian,
please.
one question. In the cost that you put in earlier on the cost slide, does it also
Mhm.
include the cost for this Grafana services as well, or the resource that you have to set up a? I'm assuming this Azure managed Grafana has its
Mhm.
own cost associated, right?
Yeah, very good question. Yes, very good question. Yeah, actually, the cost is not part of that. So because that's separate, there's a separate price point. The Essential has a fixed price per month, while the Standard Edition is fixed per month plus a user cost associated with every user that uses it. So that obviously goes on top. Yes. So it's there's a price. It's not really expensive from what I saw, but still a couple of bucks per every user per month.
And what about the alerts? You said you also mentioned quickly that alerting will add more cost because it uses Azure Monitor for alerting. And has Microsoft quantified the cost for it or hasn't yet?
Yes, there's a quantification. You obviously need to do the integration to Azure Monitor to bring the alerts in there. But once you bring them to Log Analytics, then you can create a rule in there, and for every rule that creates an alert, there is a cost, which is small. Don't know by heart because it also depends a bit on the regions you are in. But yeah, once you configure that, there is a cost per alert as well. It's also not part of the earlier calculation I showed.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So
Question
yes.
in the chat. I mean, in the
Yeah, I see
question.
there are some questions coming up. So let's pick the first question here. Can squared up dashboard be used rather than Grafana? Yes, of course. So that can be used. So it's important that you can use squared up as well. So and you can connect that and deploy it in various ways. You either use the DS, the squared up DS, or you can use the squared up Azure version of it, basically to get it from the marketplace and deploy it. Both is possible. So and integrate it, and you have like the full featured dashboards and also the authoring experience in there to change and update your dashboards as well. So from my recommendation, that obviously has a lot of more value than what we can see in Grafana at this point. So maybe there will be more templates in Grafana in the future, but at this point it is very, very small. So I've checked, and the template that Microsoft provide from Grafana, we just had like 25 downloads or something. Is like really like small. So yeah. I see another question that came in about the Linux part. So question is there Linux agents supported that are non-x86 based? So like we all know, we can run Linux on other platforms than x86, like S390 or on the Linux environment on the mainframe on IBM systems. That's not supported anymore by Microsoft, so they stopped support with SCOM 2022 on those. So, but we, in collaboration and agreement with Microsoft, basically at NICE decided to or committed to the continued development on them. So you can actually download them from the NICE customer portal, and there also will work. So the S390X support, NTPP CLE, which is the platform for the IBM, two different IBM platforms. So you can have all the latest SUSE and Red Hat versions also for those architectures that are supported. So same, by the way, applies to AIX. So for those who are using still IBM Power Systems and AIX, that is also an option to be supported there. Right. So let me check one more time if there are additional questions. Last chance. I don't see any. So then I would say, well, thank you very much for joining our webinar today. So if you have questions, you can either contact us in Europe or in the Americas as you wish. So telephone numbers are on here, or send us an email. We are also at a couple of events that are coming. So either in the US, we are sponsoring events, also in Europe. So we'll be happy to see you around that. And if not, please give us a call. And thanks a lot, Ram, for being part of this call. Thank you very much. And wish everybody a really good day. Thank you, Ram.
Thanks. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Bye.